There aren't many bank branches around these days, unfortunately, but when you do find one, what are you looking for? What are you looking for when you go into a bank? Well, maybe you want a loan or a mortgage. Maybe you need to do something about your overdraft or take out some cash if you're one of the few people in this country that still got any. What you don't expect is a political lecture. You don't expect to have someone wagging their finger at you and telling you you're a bigot. You don't go in there to be re-educated about how gender works or to have your problematic thinking recalibrated by a bank worker in a machine-washable polyester suit from Next. Well, sadly, that is just the sight that will greet you if you enter a branch of Halifax, where staff are now being encouraged, not forced, but encouraged, to show their pronouns by which they identify on their badges. Here's the tweet announcing this policy. And here's what they had to say. They had to say, hashtag pronouns matter, an image there of Gemma, she, her and hers. Hashtag pronouns matter, do they? Why someone called Gemma needs to be flagging up that she's a woman is anyone's guess. I don't know too many blokes called Gemma, and I don't know too many women called Steve. Though given the madness that's now playing out across the Western world in relation to gender, I guess anything's possible. And let me tell you, it is madness out there. Just this week it was revealed that an increasingly woke NHS that you and I pay a lot of money for has removed the word woman from information about, wait for it, the menopause. This is hot on the heels of an online NHS fact sheet about cervical cancer, again, not mentioning women. This follows breastfeeding women, of course, becoming chest-feeding people, and pregnant women becoming birthing humans. If you called my mother Diane a birthing human, she'd give you a slap across the face. If you don't think there's a concerted attempt to erase women and to eliminate the privileges that women have fought for decades for, then you are living on another planet. And lucky you, because life on this planet is becoming intolerable. In my view, this extreme trans ideology is pure misogyny. It's men bullying women all over again. But this time, the men are wearing a dress. This rubbish about inclusion is nothing more than lip service in lipstick and hypocrisy in heels. Wokeism is fascism dressed up as empathy. I don't buy a word of Halifax's story that this is just a voluntary measure. We're living in an era of politically correct groupthink, orthodox values and opinions to which you must adhere. And we are in an era in which free speech is being replaced by compelled speech. Because by encouraging people to wear these badges, they're effectively bullying them, twisting their arm and guilt-tripping them into signing up to gender ideology which challenges the basic biological fact that there are two sexes, which, of course, there are. Don't take my word for it. Here's the world-famous fertility expert, Lord Robert Winston, speaking on BBC Question Time.
I will say this categorically, that you cannot change your sex. Your sex actually is there in every single cell in the body. You have a chromosomal sex, you have genetic sex, you have hormonal sex, you have all sorts of different kinds of psychological, brain sex, they're all different. Well, unfortunately, you can't say this publicly. This is one of the big problems. Even saying this on this programme undoubtedly will result in my getting a huge amount of hate mail. It always does. Overall, I think it's a very sad thing that we can't discuss biological science without actually getting completely caught up emotionally with something which is really completely wrong.
Well, very sad indeed, and what a hero that man is. This policy from Halifax amounts to compelled speech. Which worker at this bank is going to be brave enough to not wear a badge? Good luck with that one. As we saw with other coercive, totalitarian, collective policies like masks during the pandemic, even when you didn't have to wear a mask, you were shamed into doing so. It'll be the same with these badges. You don't have to wear a badge with your pronouns, but if you don't, it will be duly noted. And a missionary from the Church of Woke, whose flock is growing, will come after you. Now, I am wildly pro-trans. I've had many friends who have been on that important and joyous journey. Transphobia is just as horrific and wrong as homophobia, sexism or racism. If you were born male, but as an adult you feel female, you are entitled to identify any which way you like. I'm a libertarian. Anything goes, baby. But extreme trans ideology, which many trans people themselves hate and reject, is at best bullying, coercive and scientifically wrong-headed, and at worst dystopian and dangerous. Oh, and it's misogynistic and homophobic too. Misogynistic because if rolled out, this gender-free universe that so many seem to want will see the disappearance of female-only spaces. It will impact the integrity of female-only sport and will potentially put women in danger, with people in possession of a man's body but identifying as female incarcerated in women's prisons, sometimes impregnating their cellmate. Talk about the Immaculate Conception. And of course, these men who identify as females can also be placed in domestic abuse shelters and even rape crisis centres. And it's homophobic because it labels a lesbian a bigot if she's not willing to have sex with someone that's got a penis who calls himself a woman. And it labels a gay man a bigot if he's not attracted to someone with a vagina that happens to identify as male. You couldn't make it up. Now, I'm no expert on gay men, but I have it on good authority that they are not in the vagina business. And lesbians are not known to seek out the John Thomas. Sometimes the stories you hear are beyond comedy, like this urgent tweet. This is a real tweet from the Canadian police looking for a missing woman. That's right, a missing woman called Isabella de Grace. Here she is, poor sweetheart. Where could she be? Probably popped to Victoria's Secret, or maybe she's getting her nails done. Isabella de Grace, what a disgrace. Or how about this corker? I love this story. Ex-soldier Chloe Thompson, that's right, Chloe Thompson, exposed her penis and used a wheelie bin as a sex toy in public. Chloe, you're such a naughty girl. You got your willy out. How could you, sister? Women have become so unladylike these days. Women and their willies, eh? This is all so wrong, and I'm not alone thinking this. The world's most famous trans woman and a hero of mine, Caitlyn Jenner, wholeheartedly rejects extreme gender ideology. Caitlyn has said it's gone too far and has also said biological males participating in women's sport shouldn't happen. It's unfair and wrong. Watching biological women like Leah Thomas still boasting the full meat and 2 veg, breaking records and smashing young women in the pool, young women who have trained all their lives and made huge sacrifices. Disgraceful. What about this story? It's Ricky Trez, a 29-year-old biological male, again, fully male, identifying as female, winning first place against a 13-year-old girl in a skateboard competition. Born with a schlong makes this wrong. Which is why Halifax's participation in this fiction that you can change biological sex is so insidious. Of course, they're not trying to make the world better. They're trying to make money and virtue signal. They say they want to avoid misgendering people, hence the badges. How do you misgender someone called Gemma? Also, I must admit, though, that Isabella de Grace, she has got me confused. I must say, I did wonder where she could be. Perhaps she popped to Zara for a browse. Or maybe she's buying makeup at Boots, number 7. And they talk about inclusion at Halifax, except any customers who don't like the pronouns policy and who don't appreciate this explicitly political intervention from their bank have been flatly told they can cancel their account. Take a look at this response from Halifax. We strive for inclusion, equality, and quite simply in doing what's right. If you disagree with our values, you're welcome to close your account. From Andy M. Charming. Talk about inclusive. Poor old Andy M must have woken up with a sore head this morning. And by the way, what bank is in a position to take the moral high ground, given that they fine customers for going a few pence over their overdraft or are a day late for a monthly payment in the midst of a cost of living crisis? And how dare Halifax, in particular, behave with such arrogance and swagger, saying you can close your account if you want to, given that they themselves were bailed out to the tune of £30 billion in 2008 during the credit crunch, 30 billion quid's worth of your and my money. We should have closed their account. Whether it's Ben & Jerry's making pronouncements about Britain's border policy or Halifax handing out these badges, I believe the public will vote with their feet. Halifax can fax off. You know the catchphrase, go woke, go broke. Gender ideology is highly controversial and organisations should stay out of it rather than feeding the monster that threatens the identity, safety, rights and freedoms of women and which brands gay people transphobic for not being attracted to the opposite physical gender. Thousands of customers, many female, are likely to accept Halifax's kind invitation to close their accounts and take their hard-earned cash elsewhere. The Mail are already reporting a mass exodus, with one customer pulling out £500,000 worth of savings in protest. Now, I don't believe in cancel culture. I don't want Halifax to go bust. I don't want Andy M to lose his job. And I don't want there to be a pylon. But just keep the politics out of your business model and stick to the day job. My message is clear. Bogus, bonkers, bankers, bloody bog off. It's time for an end to this utter pro-nonsense.